to Season 1 of the web review series More The Gorier, presented by Mr. Mayhem Movies. I'm Sean Scott with Jacob Rippin and Shane Scott, and today's episode will look into the Child's Play franchise. Now, there are, I want to say, 7 films out now, with a few shorts, and just like a really crappy video game for a phone. But overall, it's out of all these big franchises, it's one that hasn't really been touched too much. But it is one of the more active franchises. A new sequel came out recently, Cult of Chucky, and it looks like they're probably going to make many more, like, as time goes on. Like, they don't seem to be stopping.
It somehow was able to kind of reboot itself and stick with it.
Kind of rebooted itself twice.
Yeah.
And still going strong. So, well, it's direct to DVD now, but I honestly think that it can probably work as in theaters still. So how I became a fan. Well, originally it was kind of like we were looking at all the big slasher franchises after we already saw Friday the 13th and A Nightmare on Elm Street. And then we just kind of like got Child's Play because it was the other one of those big like 80s.
It took us a long while.
Yeah, it wasn't our first. We might have even saw Sleepaway Camp before Child's Play. I'm not too sure.
I'm pretty sure we didn't see the Chuckies until like pretty late.
But from there, like when I first watched them, we watched the first 5. It was before Curse of Chucky was out, and I liked them, but I wasn't like a huge fan of them. And it just kind of never like really watched them except the first one occasionally. Then to get ready for this review, we watched all of the Chucky movies again, and like I became like instant fan because I don't know, there's something about it, like watching it the second time I just realized that Chucky's hilarious, the kills are actually pretty cool, and it's just, they're just kind of like really well made movies that kind of march to the beat of their own drum. What about you, Rippin?
I watched Child's Play 2 during a Halloween marathon on AMC. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was really funny too. And I didn't watch them for a long time after that till I got ready for the thing we're doing now. Mm-hmm. And they were kind of hit and miss with me.
Really? Mm-hmm. Oh. What about you? Any different from me, or?
Nah, it's about the same. We kind of fell into them. I mean, I think we even saw Saw before we.
Yeah, we saw most of the big ones and some of the lesser known ones before we even got.
It was like one of those that we always meant to watch and we never really did. I mean, I really like them. I mean, the first 3 are very different. To the next ones are different than like the 2 kind of ones that came out recently, Curse and Cult. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting how like they're all like different in a way. Like there's a first kind of like group, there's a second, and the third one's kind of a mix of both. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say like originally I wasn't like a huge fan. There was some installments I like less, and like there's still like some that I like much more. But I would say after watching them again, they all kind of like were really good in my opinion. But there are like some ones.
The apex for me were like Bride and Cedar Chucky. Mm-hmm. Those were my favorites.
The first movie in the franchise was just called Child's Play. It was released in 1988, so it was kind of like at the end of like the whole big slasher boom. And the story kind of involves a serial killer named Charles Lee Ray, who is also like into voodoo and all this. He gets like gunned down in a toy store, like when the cops were chasing him, and he like transfers his like soul into this doll called like a good guy doll. And then like stuff happens to lead like this doll to like some like peddler outside gets it and sells it to this woman, the single mom, who then gives it to her son Andy for his Christmas, I think, that birthday. But then like the doll is possessed by Charles Lee Ray, who also goes by Chucky. So the doll like reveals itself to him, and then slowly the doll starts to like kill people, and people like blame like the cops, and even the mom start to think that it might be the little kid named Andy. And then, well, I don't want to like say like the whole plot, but basically the Chucky's trying to transfer his soul into Andy before it's too late and he becomes permanently a doll. So what did you guys think of this one?
I thought it was okay. I went into it looking for a horror movie and I didn't think I got that. I thought it was a cool movie. I thought it had cool kills and a cool concept, but it didn't feel like a scary movie to me.
Mm-hmm. Really? Why didn't it feel scary?
I don't know if it was the way they shot it. Like a lot of it was during the day. A lot of it I think that combined with the fact that I had a hard time getting with the doll killing people. But I mean, it was a good movie. I just didn't think it was a horror movie.
Mm. That's probably like a lot of people's complaints with Child's Play movies is because it's a doll going around killing people. What did you think of this?
I liked it. I mean, like I said, I liked these other ones better, but like it was a good like beginning, I think. I mean, it was like a horror movie with a little bit of comedy, and as like we say, it starts to change as it goes on. But yeah, it was Andy bothered me. I don't know why. I didn't like.
You're not a big fan of child actors.
No, they
very rarely are there like a good child actor. That
well, it's just like if they're like Corey Feldman didn't bother me.
Well, Corey Feldman's an amazing.
Well,
actor.
like in the Friday the 13th, but like in like what's her name from Halloween?
Little Jamie.
Yeah.
Danielle Harris.
Yeah, Danielle Harris. She didn't bother me at all either. But like for some reason, there's certain very little kids that bother me. Like he's not terrible. Like that one guy from Satan's Little Helper, Dewey or whatever.
Yeah, Dewey, Dougie.
Yeah, it was one of those two. That kid bothered me. Like I wanted to punch him. He was retarded. But I think they made him.
I think he
retarded.
was retarded.
Yeah. But like Andy's not terrible, but I guess he's a little kid, so I guess I shouldn't be so mad at the stupid crap he does. But like. He's very independent for a little kid. Like he just walks away.
I think they made it out to be that way because his mom's.
Yeah, I get. I could get why.
A lot. I would say Andy didn't bother me as much as like other kids. Like
he wasn't
that
terrible.
kid in The Shining bothers me.
Right
around that bothers me. And then what was that? Wes Craven's New Nightmare. I didn't like that kid.
Yeah, but those kids I don't like.
I didn't mind Andy, and he comes back in the sequel, so that's there's some continuity there.
Yeah, I like that.
I like Child's Play a lot because it was kind of like with the first Nightmare on Elm Street. It was to me, I thought it was like a straight up horror movie. With occasionally he says some funny things.
Yeah, it's more like really dark humor at this point.
It's and then like every now and then, I think my favorite part would probably be we know that like the Chucky's inside the doll, but the mom like isn't sure like what's happening, so she takes the doll and like lights a fire and is like say something to me, and then like he finally turns on and then like scares her and then like starts coming after her, and there's like good scenes like that where
I also like where like as he is in the doll longer he becomes like more human, and then it's just really gory when he gets shot and stuff.
Yeah, so you shoot a doll and blood goes everywhere. One thing I also like to point out is even though this is like a dog going around killing people, I thought the first movie was really good at presenting scenarios where it's like, it's not like you could easily have taken him out there. It's like normally he gets like the element of surprise, or he comes like at your legs and you don't really do anything to defend yourself. So even though like most people say, oh, I'll just punt him and that's how you get rid of him, like there's a lot more.
You're not expecting it, or he gets a jump on you.
Like he's a doll.
I think he literally gets punted at one point.
Yeah, but like it's not like you can just easily take him out because it is kind of hard to. Yeah, I would say overall, I like Child's Play. I want to say it might have been my favorite, but there's one movie, like the fourth movie I really liked, and we'll get to that. So it might not have been my favorite, but it was the good of the first cycle of Child's Play movies. It was my favorite.
It's the best of the first, like 3.
And then I think a lot of it has to do with the actors in it. Like Andy's a pretty good child actor, like not the best, but not bad. There's I think his name Mike Norris, a detective.
Yeah, I liked him.
Who I don't know if you guys ever saw Fright Night. Okay, it was directed by I want to say the same guy, and then he played. Man, I forget his name now, but the guy who played detective played the vampire in it, Jerry Dandridge, and I can't for the life of me remember what the actor's name is.
Yeah.
But I thought he was like a really good character that I was really surprised he never brought back.
That was weird. I never thought of that.
But and this is also a series where they bring back people a lot, and it's kind of weird, like the continuity that they have. Because for a slasher franchise, it's normally like,
it's almost like
you don't come back.
It's almost like after a while they just forgot about them, and then they just bring them back later on.
Now, I have heard that in sequels they were planning on at least mentioning him, and I think he was mentioned in one sequel that we'll get to.
Yeah, he was.
But he there was never like any big plans of like bringing him back into the franchise. So I think he's a good reason I liked his character. But
he was a good like Van Helsing to the Dracula. Okay.
So, what I would say is, even though that this is like a pretty good film, it's the first one and it was more horror, I think Child's Play works better as like a straight up horror comedy, which is what we get more in the sequels.
Yeah, I would agree.
So next up we have Child's Play 2, which came out 2 years later in 1990. This actually does take place 2 years after the first film, and it follows Andy, again played by the same actor. So in this one, the company that came out as a good guy doll, it has a lot of bad press, because it's not like people like straight up believe that the Chucky doll went around killing people, which I'll get to in a moment, but it had like a lot of bad press surrounding it. So to get around it, they like try to rebrand, and then they like recreate the destroyed Chucky doll from the first movie, and to show people, oh, it's just a normal doll. But then there's like something involving electricity brings Chucky back, and then he like starts like on his rampage trying to find Andy to pretty much transfer his soul again to finish what he did in the first movie. And then, so with this movie, Andy's living in foster care because his mom had to seek psychiatric help because she kept saying, oh, Chucky is killing people, and that no one believed her.
Yeah, what I don't get is, like, why didn't the cop from, like, the first one? I think they bring it up.
I've read, like, I don't know if they really brought it up, but I've read some fan theories that say that they, both the detective from the first movie and then his assistant who saw Chucky at the end, they were probably, like told to be silent by like the whole like authorities because they didn't want to make the police department look bad. That's what a fan theory is. So that's why they didn't say anything.
I really doubt those two would ever stay quiet about saying that.
They made a comment in the beginning about how the police department came out and said, yeah, that didn't happen.
Yeah, so they were probably like forced to like, and they would have been like probably disgraced and sent to the same place. They would have backed the story. That's just what. I don't know, a fan theory is, and like what Rippin said, I guess the police just had nothing with it. So now that his mom's seeking help, he's like put in foster care, and he's put into like his foster family, and like it's going all right. I don't think he likes him too much, but obviously Chucky tracks him down, and there's another good guy doll there, so he like trades places with him, and pretty much he tries to do the exact same thing and like try to kill. Transfer his soul into Andy so he can live again in a human body. What did you guys think of this one?
I liked it better than the original.
Really?
I feel like it played more into the horror comedy that I like, and it had probably my favorite line in any of them.
What?
When he was killing Tommy, the other good guy doll, and Tommy's on the ground going, I like to be hugged, and Chucky goes, hug this! And he smashed him with the porcelain thing.
I remember that one. And then like buries him like in the backyard.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
So you like this one more than the first one?
I did.
Yeah, I thought that the kills are like just as good as the first one. I thought, like, if not maybe a little better. It was made in 1990, but it still feels like an 80s horror movie. What did you think of this one?
I thought it was on par with the first one. I liked the sister. I mean, foster sister a lot. I thought that
was a good character.
Really good character.
Now, off the top of my head, I can't remember what her name was.
Kyle.
Was it Kyle? Okay, that seems about right.
Yeah,
she was a tomboy. Yeah, she was a good character though.
Yeah,
I forgot about.
I thought it was a shame that they didn't really bring her back in the other ones until like the end of.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But she was a good character. And it was she kind of teams up with Andy, and I think the whole climax takes place at like the good guy doll factory, which was really cool because they like put like Chucky in some like weird molding things. He has like different parts attached to him, and he's like all messed up, which is cool. So what do you think of this movie? Like, was it a good?
I thought it was a good follow-up to the second
I thought it was good.
I thought it did really well, and like same type of like kind of humor to me. I thought it did well for what like the purpose was, and it lived up. It was very even though this started in like '88, these are very '90s horror movies.
Yeah. Like, I can still feel, like, the whole 80s vibe.
Yeah.
Which, I think in the third one, it definitely changes a little bit into, like, what the early 90s kind of stuff. But I like this movie. I don't know if I liked it more than the first one, but it was definitely, like, a sequel, like a worthy sequel that... it definitely, like, had a lot of continuity between the first one, which is what I like in horror movies is when the sequels, like, really... try to stay in the continuity and bring back characters, bring back plot lines, and most horror movies don't do that. They don't care. Like if you get to the Hellraiser sequels, they don't care about continuity. But these, I would say the Child's Play franchise is really big on that, which is one of the main reasons I like it.
I believe they kept the same writer from beginning to end too.
I think you're right. There's a guy who's just kind of been like, not the showrunner, because that's for TV, but Don Mancini or something like that. He's like, I think he like co-wrote the first one, and then he's just been writing. I think he's actually directed the last 3 installments or something like that. But yeah, that's probably the reason why it's all connected, is because of the writer. But yeah, overall, I thought this was a really good movie.
It was good, yeah.
So next up, we had Child's Play 3, which came out 1 year after in 1991. This one, though, takes place, I think, like 8 or so years after. So it follows Andy again, but this time played by a different actor because they had to like age him up 8 years. I don't like this guy as much, and like it's not like Andy was a great kid, but I think just kind of like him being a kid is just really different in horror movies. It just works better when it is a kid, but that not too important. In this one, the company that makes good guy dolls is again like trying to like rebrand, like reopen their doors, try to go big. So they like do like the good guy dolls again, and then obviously Chucky comes back because you know they always have to like keep making Chucky dolls to prove everything's fine. I forget exactly why he comes back in this one. There's like,
and then he like mails himself to the school.
So in it, Andy is now 16-ish, but he's at a military academy. So Chucky mails himself to the military academy because he's like, oh well, I need to transfer my soul again. Let's try it. It's 3rd time's the charm. However, when he gets there, he realizes that he doesn't actually need to transfer his soul to Andy. He just needs to transfer it to the first person he reveals himself to. Which, in the first 2 movies, it was Andy. But in this one, he's like, since I've been, like, destroyed and I've came back, he can reveal himself again. And it's to a little black boy named Ronald.
That kid kind of bothered me, too.
He really wanted a good guy doll, so he plays as that. And he's, like, much younger than Andy, so I don't know how old, but definitely not 16. So basically, instead of Andy being the one that he's trying to transfer it into, Andy's the one who's trying to save Ronald from having all this happen, because Ronald doesn't really view it. He thinks it's a game. He doesn't know he's in danger. And really, the thing that sets this one apart from the other movies is the fact that it takes place at a military academy.
I like that touch.
It's unique. I haven't really seen horror movies do something like that. What do you think of this one?
I felt it was, in my opinion, I think it was the weakest movie out of any of them. I did like the military academy part, but it felt like a horror movie combined with a 90s teen movie.
I could see that.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't like when Chucky, he figured out that he didn't have to do it with Andy. He should have focused on that one kid, but he's like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm gonna go fuck with Andy. And then I didn't like it.
Yeah, I would say this one might be my least favorite. Like, there's the 5th one I wasn't a huge fan of, but I would say after rewatching them, Child's Play 3 to me might be the most forgettable.
The 5th one was more cringy than it was
we'll get to the 5th one now. What did you think of Child's Play 3?
I liked it. I thought it was on par. I mean, I didn't like... It was the first one I've ever seen when I was not really little, but I was like in elementary school. I was in my friend's house. And it was on TV. And I didn't watch most of it, but like it was like the part where I liked where like Chucky replaces the ammunition because there's 2 groups of people. They're playing airsoft. They're playing paintball at the academy, and like 2 different cadet groups, and then they have to... Chucky replaces the ammo with live rounds, which I guess I could see how that happens, but like a gun that's fitted usually for paintball would be a CO2, and then you really couldn't put live...
I don't think they thought that.
Yeah, I don't think you could put ammunition in it, but that all aside. So they're like, the one team just shooting at the other, not realizing it's not paintball, and then like killing people and people getting shot. And then like out of nowhere, Chucky like pulls a grenade pin and throws a live grenade, which I thought was freaking hilarious because it was so fun to see. But that was like the part I saw when I was little. And then like I liked when the guy jumps on the grenade and gets blown up, but... That was what I saw, and that always stuck with me.
I remember, like, doesn't he, like, say, like, it was like Nerdy Kid. He jumped on a grenade, and there's, like, a really long pause before, like,
you're like, is that a real grenade? And then he just blows up.
Yeah, so he did blow up. So they blew up a kid, which was cool.
I mean, it was really interesting how they did that. I mean, I just thought it was hilarious when like they're shooting and then Chucky just has a grenade and just like throws it, which I don't know why there's a grenade in like a military school. Ronald, I thought the kid was just a moron because like Andy's like, I guess Andy was a lot younger in the originals and he's like talking to the doll, but then like this kid's a little older and the doll's talking to him like intelligently and it's like really messed up and this kid does not realize there's a problem.
No,
he was at the age where he should have realized there was a problem and that just kind of bothered me. Cause then it's like, okay, is the kid retarded?
He might be.
Because like, I know like, Insane won't help, but that kid's retarded. This kid was just, I think they just played stupid. But overall, I like, I mean, it probably is the weakest if I had to put it down, but it was, I don't hate it.
Yeah, I would say like none of these are like to me like very bad. And it was still, like, to me, a solid enough one. It kind of feel like they might have been, like, running out of steam with what to do with the franchise.
This is why you don't make movies, like, right after each other.
This was made
We're looking at you, Disney.
So, it was, for what it was a good movie. My favorite character was just the really creepy guy who cuts hair.
Yeah, I like that.
Because he, like, really gets into his job. And I'm not positive,
but Vietnam vet,
I think... If the character, I mean the actor is the dad from the Hellraiser movie.
Pretty sure
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it is.
But man, he was creepy, and he gets what he deserves.
The dad from Hellraiser was also in what's that movie?
Dirty Harry.
Dirty Harry, and
he's like top acting. Oh my god.
I didn't think unless he was like legitimately going for crazy, then I guess he played it really well. But that like he's good at kind of that type of acting.
Like I would say in this one he definitely plays it over the top.
I think most his roles, I think, he got because he played the one over. But yeah,
Dirty Harry wasn't bad though. So yeah, I would say Child's Play 3 not the best one, but it's definitely like a decent sequel. It's better than some of the other slasher sequels out there.
I mean, I don't think this series has like weak as some of the Friday the 13th. They're like Nightmare on Elm Street have like legitimate ones that are kind of hard to watch. So I think it was a good movie.
So, the fourth movie in the franchise was called Bride of Chucky, and it was released in 1998, and it's a very post-Scream kind of movie that's very self-aware of the franchise, and it definitely, this is when it becomes like a full-on horror comedy. In this one, and I'll back up Tad, there's the person who voices Chucky, and who plays like him before he becomes a doll, is Brad Dourif, who was like an Academy Award nominee or winner, I forget which, for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And then in this one, they introduce his girlfriend from the past, which was
played by
Jennifer Tilly, who has also like been nominated for some awards. So in this one, Charlie Lee Ray's former girlfriend, which is Tiffany, played by Jennifer Tilly, tracks down like the Chucky remains from a vault. And so because he got blown up at the end of the third one. And in this one, it was, she like brings him back like through voodoo. And yeah, she brings Chucky back through voodoo, but Chucky then like kills her because she's not treating him right.
Well, back up a tiny bit. She has that guy that's kind of with her that kind of looks like a Marilyn Manson type guy. And like, I don't know, I just think that guy's hilarious because like, I don't know, just like the whole scene with him is funny.
He's trying to be like some big, tough, edgy killer, but he is really just a dork who's probably just trying to get in her
she's
pants.
Obviously like the dominant one because she gets him tied up to the bed like easy.
And kills him.
Yeah.
So anyways, when she brings Chucky back, Chucky, I guess doesn't treat her with the respect she did.
Yeah, doesn't she put him like in like...
Yeah, so she puts him in a little like dog cage. And then, so Chucky then breaks out and kills her, and then transfers her soul into another, like, a female doll. So it becomes, like, the Bride of Chucky. So in this one, it focuses, like, entirely on Chucky and Tiffany, who are both dolls now, as they're trying to, I think, go to Charlie Lee Ray's old grave in order to, like, do some more voodoo magic to transfer himself.
That's the funny thing with these. There's always like a voodoo thing for whatever the plot point they need to do.
Yeah, there's like, and like they don't introduce this special voodoo thing until like the movie needs it to, because like why couldn't he have got his gone to his grave in the other ones and tried to get that way? I don't know.
What's up with that?
Anyways, in this one it focused like entirely on Chucky and Tiffany as they like kind of kidnap these two people to take them across across some states in order to get to the grave. And it definitely like plays straight into like the horror comedy aspect. What did you think of this one?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. At the beginning, I didn't think I would like it because I watched it and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? But
That's the right response.
once I kind of got it through my head that it was completely different than the three before, I really got into it. I really liked it.
Yeah, this one definitely like the first three Child's Play is kind of like a cycle, and then it goes into this one and fifth one. But this one, like obviously, there's continuity. Same person voicing Chucky, and there's like small references to the other ones.
They're almost like a soft reboot where it's like it's just like kind of I know they mention Andy. I think at one point.
Yeah, and I think like they might have mentioned the military academy in this one or the fifth one.
And
but
it's kind of
really like it's just kind of like it's Chucky back, but everything ends up coming together later on. What do you think of this one?
I think it's my favorite, to be honest. I think Tiffany was a good addition to the whole like killerness of the thing. Now there's kind of like two killers, even though like Charlie Ray is still the main one. I think like Jennifer Tilly's playing a Tiffany was really good, and I think that's kind of what you came to expect a lot after like you look at it like from the 2000s. You're like, okay, there's Chucky and then there's Tiffany. You don't really it's hard to separate the two, and I liked her portrayal of Tiffany. I thought it was an overall good movie.
I would say that this one's probably like my favorite of the whole series, just because whoever idea was it to not only give Chucky a wife, but have it be played by Jennifer Tilly. Because
that's the funniest voice.
If you hear her voice, you would understand how that's like the perfect doll voice.
But she's attractive, so you don't care.
Yeah, so it's all right.
Yeah.
And whoever idea was just completely brilliant, because that was great casting. It's a great character.
Yeah, like Jennifer Tilly like really like fits. I don't know why she plays the character really well.
And then Tiffany doesn't take any of Chucky's crap,
No.
and she can like go toe to toe with him. So it's kind of like two dolls arguing while at the same time going around killing people gleefully.
Yeah.
It's a really weird combination, but it works. I really think like it works. I don't know how they came up with the idea.
Is this the one where he impregnates her though?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which
I get like a turkey baster of dolls.
No, that was the fifth one.
Fifth one, they already have a kid.
Right, they were trying to get the human babies to translate.
Oh, and that's when they they actually did. Yeah, the turkey baster.
Yeah, there was doll sex and Bride of Chucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome.
Also,
that's what I wanted.
I remember when the way Chucky killed Tiffany before like she became a doll was when she's in the bath watching Bride of Frankenstein on her TV and he pushes the TV into her bath and kills her. And it's like right where the scene like was the bride, which was just like it's like really self-aware, which is really like.
This is the one that was more of a straight up comedy with horror aspects instead of a horror movie that had like dark humor.
So yeah, in this one it's a fun movie. And the kills are also like really gruesome. Like they can get away with a lot more because it's like in the 90s instead of the 80s where the MPAA was really severe. But yeah, in this one it's just a fun movie, and it also like plays into the gory horror aspects. And overall, like having Tiffany in it was definitely
I think that's like a
boost
big
for the
bump.
movie. The fifth movie in the franchise is Seed of Chucky, which was released in 2004.
That's just an uncomfortable name.
Yeah, just right off the bat, the name Seed of Chucky just makes me feel uncomfortable. It's not called like Child of Chucky, which would be kind of cool because Child's Play, but no, Seed of Chucky.
I think that's what they're going for.
I think so. So it takes place, even though it was made 6 years later, and it takes place 6 years later. Because at the end of Bride, there is Tiffany gives birth to a baby, but like it immediately ends. So now this one picks up when the baby's been around for 6 years, and he's grown into this
really
weird,
uncomfortable looking thing.
It's really weird. Like it's not like you don't know if it's a guy, if it's a girl.
Kind of looked like David Bowie.
I can see that. Yeah, picture a David Bowie.
I always thought it looked like a dude.
I think I thought more of it of a dude, but it's eventually named Glenn or Glinda because he has two personalities.
Yeah.
And
he's a tranny.
I think this is explained because because these are two dolls, not like was humans, and the dolls like they combine the Tiffany soul and the Chucky soul to give like another soul. So it's like one part is a girl, one part's a guy. He doesn't really, or she doesn't really know what it is. It's an it.
It literally isn't it.
So anyways, he finds out that they're like making a movie about like his parents and they use original dolls. So he like tries to go and find them and brings them back to life. But he doesn't like really like what they are. Like he wanted parents, but like Chucky, he doesn't like killing at all. Or
they like to kill, and this guy's a little pussy.
Yeah. So Tiffany's willing to like be okay with it, like let's not kill. But Chucky is Chucky.
He's having a hard time with not killing people.
Yeah. So basically, they're trying to deal with that, and then also they're trying to get their souls in other people's bodies. And what they think of doing this time is Tiffany is going to put her soul into the actress Jennifer Tilly,
who actually plays her.
So she plays herself, but like a more like bad like view of herself.
Yeah.
And I forget who the other famous person Chucky tries to get into, but
Black man.
Yeah, black guy.
He's a rapper. I don't really know.
Yeah. He's not who he is not too important to the plot. It's the whole fact that Jennifer Tilly plays herself that's amazing. And all the while, like Glenn or Glinda is trying to like figure out her or his place in this, and like if he's a guy, if he's a girl, I don't know. And it's just really uncomfortable. And I think a lot of it has to stem just because it's called Seed of Chucky.
There's that point we were talking about in the last one with the turkey baster full of like doll,
Yeah.
And he wants to like shove it up Jennifer Tilly's hoo-ha.
Mm. So she would then give birth to a kid, and whoever that kid is, they'll put the soul of Glenn or Glinda in it.
Yeah.
And they would decide the gender based on whatever the kid is. And then eventually they find out they're going to have twins, so he has to like decide, does Glenn or Glinda want to be a guy or a girl? Which is weird, but this carries over like the same Bride of Chucky kind of mentality. It's a horror comedy this time. And what did you think, Rippin?
I really liked it. I liked how over the top it was.
It was.
Comedy.
It was very over the top.
Like there's a part when Chucky and Glinda are driving, and somebody cuts them off, and it's Britney Spears.
Yeah.
She flipped them off, and Chucky flipped her back off, and then he ran her off a cliff.
Yeah.
Oh man, I forgot about that. It definitely doesn't take itself too seriously. What did you think of this?
I really liked it. It was probably second, tied maybe with something else favorite. I mean, I like the whole comedy aspect of it. I mean, I freaking love like the different personalities with like Glenn and Glinda. There's like a point where he's just like wondering what he is, and Tiffany's like, well, some people are like think they're boys, and some people like think they're one thing, but they're like explain the transgender crap, and then right when she says that, like Chucky's like no, and like flips out 'cause, like every time she talks about like the tranny crap, I'm not being correct, I'm sorry, but Chucky's like obnoxiously uncomfortable with it, and tries to always like change the subject or like
he wants a boy. He doesn't want a girl.
I don't think he's happy with the tranny stuff.
No, he doesn't. He wants a straight up boy. Like originally when I first saw these series, I would say Seed of Chucky is probably my least favorite. But then after rewatching it, I definitely like it more.
It was more like uncomfortable, just the whole aspect of like Seed of Chucky, but like
I definitely like it more than the third one. So it's definitely not my least favorite, and I definitely like it much more after watching it again.
That's the type of comedy I kind of want in a Chucky movie, or like feel of it. I
get the straight up comedy.
Because I think with like Chucky's personality, that goes better than like the straight up, more seriousness in the first few.
Yeah, like he's a killer doll, so they kind of embrace the fact he's a killer doll and make it funny. To me, my favorite, not like part, but my favorite aspect of the movie is just the fact that Jennifer Tilly plays herself and Tiffany Doll's trying to take over her soul. I find that hilarious.
I mean, in the end, she does.
Yeah.
And then, like, Glenn and Glinda go kind of like both one into the boy, one into the girl.
The way I took it is, well, one, yeah, Tiffany takes over. Tiffany takes over Jennifer Tilly's body, and then Jennifer Tilly gives birth to twins. I kind of thought that Glenn or Glinda took over the son that they had, and so he becomes a guy. And then the girl, like, he doesn't have like an extra like the doll soul. But it's still the spawn of Chucky.
That's not how I took it.
And I viewed it as she's like the straight up. She is like the daughter of Chucky, so she's just also a horrible person.
Well, I took it as Glenn and Glinda go separate ways, and like Glenn, who's just a shy the shy boy that doesn't like this, is kind of getting. And then you can kind of see him getting bullied a little bit by the Glinda soul in the girl. That's how I looked at it.
I can see it.
I mean, I guess you could look at it different ways, but yeah.
Because like it is still like Chucky's
Yeah.
son and daughters, and they also look very unappealing. Nothing against redheads, but the hair doesn't help them.
Logan Murphy does.
So it's definitely with all that aside, I think this is a pretty good movie. It's definitely like back in like the comedy aspect, and this is probably like the apex of comedy in the series. But it has good kills, and it's really funny to watch. So it's a good movie. Next movie in the franchise was Curse and Chucky, which came out 9 years later.
It was a big time.
Yeah.
This is a straight up reboot.
Yeah, 2013.
Yeah, like Bride of Chucky was like a soft reboot. This is more like a hard reboot.
So was this movie, like, it obviously is kind of like rebooting it, because pretty much the entire movie, it's kind of like an independent story.
One thing I find interesting, though, is like if you look at all the other series really around this time, they're remaking. They're not rebooting. This is one of the few series that decided, hey, we're just going to reboot it instead, because we like the guy that plays Chucky, we like all this, and it's less like, because like Friday the 13th, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and all those, these are all like remakes, and like this one was...
So, actually, one thing to say about that is, before I go into the plot, is they were originally, I think, trying to remake Child's Play, but it was, like, taking too long, so the writer for all these movies decided just to go out with another sequel, and after the success of Curse of Chucky on DVD, they decided to, like, then make the next one, and then it looks like they're just going straight with, let's just keep making sequels to it, instead of rebooting.
They seem to be
remaking it.
Pretty good. Because...
So, fans like it. This one goes back to like the horror aspect. Like the comedy is pretty much absent for most of it, as opposed to like a few like one-liners.
It felt more like the first like few Chuckies with like the more just dark humor and less like just straight up comedy. It was.
They were going for like a scary Chucky movie,
which is like, I mean, it's either a turn on or a turn off depending on like if you like Chucky for like the more comedic, then you might not like this one as much. I would say.
From what I've said, most critics like this movie, like horror critics. Yeah. But every time like I talk to people, normally they don't like this one. Like I've met people at college who are like adamantly against this movie for some odd reason. So I'll just go into the plot before I talk about what I like about it. But in this one, it takes place with this girl named Nika who's in a wheelchair, and she's living with her mom, Sarah. So then someone mysteriously mails a good guy doll to them, and it obviously ends up being Chucky. And in Bride and Seed of Chucky, Chucky's like reassembled by like staples to his face and he's like crudely sewn together. And then all of a sudden, Curse of Chucky, he looks completely normal. So at first you're like really wondering, why is he normal now? So as time goes on, Chucky starts to kill people. And you find out the reason he mailed himself here was because Sarah was the one who, the mom, is the one who called the police on Charles Lee Ray back in the first movie, so the cops went after him and led to all this happening. So it's kind of like Chucky's getting his revenge. It ends with Nika being like the only one to survive. Well, not the only one, but she becomes like the main girl to survive, and there's also a niece that survives. But throughout it, she like tries to defeat Chucky, and as time goes on, Chucky he has like makeup on and like prosthetics, and you reveal that it's really the same Chucky doll, all beat up. He just like put on like a different thing to cover it up. So from there, the character of Nika becomes like the main hero and tries to defeat Chucky. But in the end, Chucky pretty much pins everything, all the murders on her, so she is then sent to a psychiatric hospital to undergo treatment for believing a doll just went around killing people. What do you think of this one?
I really liked it. I liked that it had the stronger horror elements. I think I just said horror, not horror. But,
yeah, close enough.
Yeah, I really, it's weird, I liked this one a lot for being darker and not having as much humor, but I really like the
other one for having the humor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Like, it's different, but at the same time, like I'm okay with like seeing a bunch of Chucky movies that take on such drastically different tones. So do you like this movie, or?
I really liked it.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Shane?
I really liked it. It was probably the darkest Child's Play like movie, I would say, because like all the others, this was like, and the house was like dark, so I don't know if like physically it looked darker, but like there wasn't as much comedy, which I mean I prefer the comedy with Chucky, but I actually really liked this movie. I thought it really held up as a Child's Play movie. I like how Anika is played by the guy that plays Charles Lee Ray's
Fiona Dourif.
Yeah, Brad Dourif's daughter. So it's really funny if you think about the like vulgar stuff Chucky says to her. It's kind of uncomfortable because that's his actual daughter, but she was a pretty good actress. I was impressed with it.
It was a nice like combination of like obviously it was like kind of like self-aware they cast the daughter of it, but it's she's also in a wheelchair, so it's like a really interesting person to be like the survivor girl. And it's just like, it's an interesting aspect because at the end of it, it kind of feels like Chucky won.
Yeah.
Which in all the other ones, he ended up getting destroyed somehow.
Yeah.
So that was definitely different.
I like the post-credit scene in this one, where he like mails himself to a grown-up Andy, played by the guy that was in the first one. And like Chucky thinks he gets like the drop on him, and he like turns around, and Andy just has a shotgun and just shoots him.
And that's how it ends. So pretty much the whole movie you're thinking there's no connection, but then you get to the very end of the movie.
Then it's connected.
And when the last like 4 minutes, all of this continuity is thrown at you. Because Jennifer Tilly comes back for a brief scene to show up. Sorry. And she's the one who's been like mailing Chucky out to everyone. And she then like mails Chucky out to Andy, who obviously gets a drop on her and drop on him. So also with that, there's a bunch of like little references. Like in Andy's house, there's a picture of Kyle, his foster sister from the second one, and then she's also having a conversation, which I think is implied that it's with Kyle maybe. And I think they like mention the mom, and then I think they also talk about like the mom's out of the psychiatric hospital. And then they also mention like the detective, and I think it's like kind of implied that the detective and the mom got together. So it's all these like subtle things.
They straight up like so much continuity in such a little amount of time.
So it definitely like ties into all the other ones.
You literally go into the movie after a while like, oh, this might even be a remake. There's like nothing connecting, and then at the end it's like, oh, okay, no, it's not.
And also like it's been 9 years, and they don't explain what happened in those 9 years, like to bridge the gap between the ending of Seed of Chucky and the beginning of Curse of Chucky. So I guess Tiffany and Chucky reconcile their differences at some point in time. And Chucky like obviously comes back. So I'm not like, they don't like explain that, but they don't really need to. This is 9 years later. It's telling a different story, and this is really focused on Nika this time instead of the previous two that really focused straight up on Chucky and Tiffany. But overall, it's a really dark movie comparatively to the other ones. I think it kind of brought back the scariness again. Like there's some like claustrophobic feelings because it all takes place in this one house, and then the gore is also there. And this was the first time the series went direct to DVD, which is normally not like a good sign for horror movies. But I think it could have easily worked as like it being released in theaters. It probably would have got like some good amount of money back. Yeah. So like overall, it was a good movie.
I thought so.
It was definitely like and this is like the beginning of the next cycle, but yeah, it was a pretty good movie. And I wouldn't say my favorite. That would probably be Bride, but this is definitely in probably like my top stream.
It's up there.
So the final film, currently the final film in the franchise is Cult of Chucky. That just came out in 2017. Sorry. This one takes place 4 years later, and it was made 4 years later. And it follows Nika at a mental institution.
But she's stupid.
Yeah, so it's like she was put there because she believed that Chucky was a doll that was
killing
killing
after a while people would be like, yeah, there might be something to this. There's been a lot of people that say this.
So, and then she was like accused of like all the murders as well. So they think that she was just like putting all the blame on a doll. So basically I think she still secretly believes Chucky did it. She knows it. But she pretty much plays along with people's ideas that, oh, maybe you're right. So maybe I'm the crazy one. So she gets moved from like a maximum security prison or something to like medium security mental health facility. And she like befriends some people there trying to move on with her life. But Chucky is a total D-bag and wants to go and terrorize her. So he basically like sends a doll there in order to try to start something, basically to try to finish her off. And he has access to her now because of medium security. And then Jennifer Tilly comes back as both playing herself and to Tiffany doll inside her. So, and she like takes on whatever personality she needs to in order to get what she wants. She has a much bigger role this time around as opposed to Curse of Chucky, and you see her throughout. And this one also brings back the kid who played Andy Barclay in the first two movies. He's now like grown up. So, and it actually takes like the ending of Curse of Chucky and goes with it. So Chucky Andy shot Chucky with a shotgun at the end. So he's holed up in a cabin now, and he has like the severed head of that Chucky doll.
Which is hilarious.
Yeah. And it's a weird relationship. He's just talking to him.
He just kind of brings him out and like kind of harasses him, and they just kind of lonely together.
Yeah, they need each other, but they don't like each other. It's a weird relationship. But then the whole time you're wondering, then who's this Chucky doll that's terrorized an institution? And then another one's introduced, but you don't think it's like Chucky inside it. You think it's just a normal doll, and you find out that one's also alive. So there's two Chucky dolls, and then eventually like things happen to a third Chucky doll gets there. So there's three Chucky dolls at the institution killing people. Well, at the same time, the one Chucky doll that at the end of Curse that Andy shot is still in the back of in the cabin. So it's kind of confusing, but this is like when we talked about like the whole voodoo curse isn't really introduced until it's needed in the movie. This one shows that, hey, by the way, he can transfer his soul so he can occupy multiple dolls at the same time.
That's kind of where the cult comes from.
It's a cult of Chuckies. So I originally thought it was going to be a cult of people worshipping Chucky, but no, it's a cult literally made up of Chuckies. So basically just all of them go around, and then I really like the aspect of these multiple dolls. Like, it's in a way kind of a really out there plot line, but at the same time
all the dolls have
interesting.
different haircuts too.
Mm-hmm. And one doll also like looks more destroyed, so you can tell the difference between them, and they all go after different people. So before I say more, what did you guys think?
I thought it was okay. There were only two characters I really liked. It was Nika and Chucky.
Mm.
Everybody else I was kind of like, eh. There was the rapey doctor.
Yeah,
That was weird.
And I felt the ending was a little bit too open. I know they were leaving it open to a sequel, but I didn't like that they brought Andy back just to lock him up.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was his whole role.
So just talking like about the ending, in this one, pretty much Chucky wins, like straight up. Andy goes to the institution, gets himself locked up in there, just trying to save the day because he needed to get inside. But still, even though he destroyed the Chucky doll, he gets locked in there by another Chucky doll, and they successfully transfer his soul into Nika's body. So Nika is now, and she can walk now because voodoo, and she now has Chucky's soul inside her. So she then she goes outside to meet up with Jennifer Tilly, who then they all leave. So basically, it shows that they won. That everything was that. It was definitely like interesting and it was an open. I can see like where you're coming from. I think they're definitely going to come out with a sequel soon enough. Like it took 4 years for this one to come out. I wouldn't be surprised if it takes less than 4 years. What do you think of this one?
I liked it. It was more comedic than the last one. I felt like the rapey doctor was funny because like he kept getting knocked out by Chucky, and he thought it was like Nika doing it, and like he wasn't gonna do anything because then she could like say, and it happened like 2 times,
Mm-hmm.
and then I found it weird when Nika is like Chucky, and like it's like so it's like it's weird because it's his daughter like channeling him.
Mm-hmm.
In the character, and
you can see his face kind of in there too. It's a little odd.
Yeah, it's really weird how that kind of goes down. Then like at the end, like Nika makes out with Tiffany, which was funny.
Mm-hmm. But it's Chucky.
Yeah, so it's Chucky, but it's like but in reality, it's just his daughter playing. It's crazy. But like, yeah, the ending was really open. I would have liked a little narrower if it was open, but yeah. I mean, basically everyone dies, and then like Chucky is okay.
Yeah, I personally like really like the open ending because I like movies where the killer wins, and this one he like definitively like he wins, Andy gets locked up, everyone dies, Nika gets possessed, Chucky's the winner. There's also like some weird scenes that one thing I thought was well, first off, some good kills. There's one where a girl's like strapped to a bed and there's like a open window above her. So Chucky like takes this like thing of oxygen and hits it against the floor.
That was hilarious.
And it just like rockets up, hits the glass, and comes down and kills her. I think it like decapitates her or something.
Yeah, I know the glass.
And it's like Chucky did not see something being that destructive. There's also the scene like was the rapey doctor where after Chucky knocks her out, he says something funny. Like he's like, "That's even messed up."
Yeah, that's messed up.
And there's a lot of messed up things about it, but to me, I think the strongest part is Chucky's able to riff off himself, and there's multiple Chucky dolls that can
The
talk with each other.
conversations were funny between the Chuckies. That's kind of what I like.
That's definitely the strong suit, because it was a good idea combining Chucky with Tiffany, which it's still the best idea, but having multiple Chucky dolls, like, it feels like it's kind of jumping the shark, but at the same time, just go along with it. Hilarious.
Funny thing is, though, like, the original Chucky doll's head is still, like, just in Andy's cabin, and it's just there. It's like, it's not getting away at all.
So, the way it ends is, well, first off, the original Chucky, like, this is who he is still that severed head in Andy's cabin. And basically, he's all alone in that cabin when the movie ends. And there's a post-credit scene where, at the very end, Kyle from the second movie knocks on the door and just tells Chucky that Andy sent her. So it sets up that Kyle from the second movie will probably come back in a sequel as like a bigger part.
Mm-hmm.
And that even though all the Chuckies won, that original Chucky doll is still losing. Which I think is kind of funny. Personally, I like this movie. I found it funnier than Curse. I don't know if I liked it more.
It was a much
But I would have to watch it again. I've only seen this one once because it's very new. But it definitely was like a very solid movie. It's a franchise that knows that it's weird and just kind of embraces it, but it's still trying to be like horrifying. And I really like respect it, and I really like. I'm looking forward to other sequels. I think it has a lot to offer.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
That's all of the Chucky films right now. There's 7 of them, and it looks like there's probably going to be more sequels. And there's a few other ideas that Don Mancini is like throwing around that I'll get to in a moment. So besides the movies, there's been, I don't know, like a few comic books, not a lot for a horror movie series, and then one phone game that is just called like Chucky Slash and Dash that is not even like worth mentioning. It's really bad. So there's also like been some like 5 kind of short films. One's called Chucky's Vacation Slides, which was released with Seed of Chucky's DVD around then. And it was basically as a way to, it was just to help market it. It was basically Chucky, Tiffany, and then Glenda is watching a bunch of slides from their vacations, and in the background, Chucky is like killing people in the slides. So like Tiffany and Glenn are all bent up about it. Chucky doesn't really care. It's really simple. It's not as funny as the movie. Not all the jokes land, but just pictures of Chucky killing people. It's worth a watch, at least for once. And then to get ready for, I think, Curse of Chucky, they did this thing called Chucky Invades, and they did it for 4 different movies where they take a big clip from 4 different like influential films and insert Chucky in it. And it's kind of weird. Most of it's kind of like a CGI Chucky because it was done fast, but I think there was Chucky Invades Psycho, Drag Me to Hell, Mama, and I can't remember the last one. Oh, The Purge. So basically they take like either the trailer of the movie or maybe just like bits and pieces of like a famous scene and puts Chucky in it. Like for example, my favorite one was Chucky Invades Psycho.
That was a good
So
one.
it's a shower scene when Norman Bates kills the main girl in the shower. So with that, it would show like she's in the shower, but then it shows a clip of Chucky's little feet walking up, and then it shows her in the shower from the movie, but then it shows her Chucky putting a stepladder down and then walking up it so he can get taller up. And then it just shows him stabbing her instead of Norman Bates. And it's kind of like that for the other street, Chucky Invades. It's just simple.
Yeah.
It's just really simple marketing tactic that it's worth a watch. It's funny enough, especially like the Psycho one, which is when he puts the stepladder down. It's hilarious. It's worth a watch. Like I've never seen Mama, and I don't care for Drag Me to Hell, but it doesn't matter what you think of the movies. The clips are funny. Now, so right now, as I mentioned before, Don Mancini had like a lot of ideas for Chucky sequels that I don't know how serious they are. Some of them seem so far out there, it's like they're never going to happen. But I have a list of what they are here. So here's all the ideas he's had for movies. One was, you guys know the Murder on the Orient Express?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he wants to make Chucky on the Orient Express. So I think it would be like Chucky's a doll on a train, and no one believes that like the doll's killing people, and he goes around killing people. I think is what they're coming up with. What do you guys think of that? Chucky on a train killing people.
It's not too far out there for this series.
No.
Yeah, they would have to play that one off with a lot of humor.
Yeah, this one would have to be more so the Bride see the Chucky route. Personally, I think they wouldn't do this, but the funniest way would be just someone killing someone on a train and Chucky plays the detective person trying to solve the crimes. I think that would be hilarious, but that definitely wouldn't happen. Next one is called Child's Play on Elm Street. He wanted to cross over Chucky with Freddy Krueger. And the plot idea he had was it involved some reason Chucky's doll gets in possession of someone on Elm Street, and Chucky dreams, because, why not? And like Chucky meets Freddy in the dreams. They're both like big fans of each other because they used to be actual serial killers. But then they realize that Elm Street's not big enough for the two of them, and they fight. What do you guys think of those two meeting up?
I would like that.
It would work because they're both more comedic.
Yeah, they would need like Freddy Krueger from the original series to bring back Robert Englund.
You need to bring back Englund because even though I liked the remake, it didn't get a following that would justify, I think, him carrying over. And he was more serious. Yeah. He was like completely.
If they go with original series, it became comedic and it would fit right in with Child's Play. They already did Freddy vs. Jason. Why not Freddy vs. Chucky? Okay, so this other one, I don't know how serious he is, but he wants a movie called Chucky in Space. Because, Pinhead went into space, Jason went into space, even Leprechaun beat him to space. Chucky needs to go into space. What do you guys think of that?
I think it has to happen.
It has to happen now?
I think it's... I don't want to say it's inevitable. That's eventually going to happen. But, since it's a very self-aware series, I could see it doing that just because that's kind of like the jumping the shark thing.
It will probably be the first, out of the ones I mentioned that went into space, those, even though they were more or less, some of them are more aware, not all of them, that we're in space, who cares? This one I feel like would be straight up, we're in space, we know it's hilarious, go with it. Yeah. So, honestly, I'm open to anything. And here's one I would say actually would probably be the least likely. And I remember I've seen him talk about it before, but I haven't seen anything recently talked about, so I don't see it happening. But Chucky versus Annabelle, which is a creepy doll from the Conjuring movies. Personally, I think with Freddy, he peaked and he's on his way down. Annabelle is popularity-wise, it's still up there. So basically,
and the thing is, it's so serious. You'd have to play it serious.
Annabelle would be a Chucky Annabelle movie would be a step down for the Conjuring franchise, and Annabelle is just probably too serious. It's really just because it's a doll against Chucky. But what would you think of that?
Chucky and Raggedy Ann would be a better matchup.
So yeah, I don't see that one ever happening unless it's Annabelle's the Conjuring franchise goes downhill and no one cares anymore. Then maybe
we'll see with the Nun.
Yeah, the Nun coming out. So I don't really see that one happening. I would say that's less likely than a Chucky versus Freddy or a Chucky in Space.
I think Chucky in Space is the most likely. I think it's almost inevitable.
To me, out of those four ideas, I would say Chucky on the Orient Express might be the most likely, just because it's just Chucky on a train killing people. It seems obvious. I would like to see Chucky versus Freddy the most. That one I want to see. But
it has a better plot.
But Chucky in space, that would be amazing. Because what reason did the doll have to be in space?
He got brought along with somebody that went into space.
This is why not. Yeah, so those are the movies, ideas that they have. So pretty much, overall, I would say Child's Play is... It wouldn't be one of my all-time favorite franchises, but Bride of Chucky's amazing, and a lot of the latest sequels and the original, they're a lot of fun to watch. Chucky... would definitely be up there in my favorite villains. Maybe not top 5, but definitely watching these movies again. It's a fun franchise to watch. He's a really interesting character because he's hilarious, and he's definitely not politically correct.
No, not at all. He's probably the most politically incorrect killer. So if you're somebody that doesn't like that, don't watch. That's all I can tell you. Don't get mad when they say something that you don't like.
Yeah, you go along with it. He's a talking doll. What's your overall impressions of Child's Play?
I go movie by movie. They're either hit or miss with me. I think I said that already, but overall, I think they're a good series.
Yeah, it's a very fun series, and you kind of know what you are getting into. It's a killer doll, so just kind of embrace the fact that you're watching a movie about a killer doll, and just have fun with it. So this wraps up our Child's Play review, and overall, Child's Play is a good franchise.
I enjoy it. I would say Chucky, separate from the franchise, is one of the most iconic.